I'm sure I'm visible.
We're live now.
My hair is also a penny.
We're live now.
Okay. Sure. Sorry, I'm back.
Our guest, wherever you're watching us all over the world, welcome to this special edition of the Bakwetu TV. This program is called The Business Talk, and I'm your host. My name is Patrick Chilufya, based in Sussex in the United Kingdom. And my guest is Mr. Kelvin Chisanga, who is based in Zambia. Mr. Kelvin Chisanga is an economist. He calls himself as a social economist, and he's the owner and CEO of iNetcom Business Solutions in Zambia. Mr. Kelvin Chisanga did economics centered on social development policies, and he also has an MB majored in international business management. Mr. Chisanga, welcome to Bakwetu TV.
Thank you so much. My pleasure. I hope everyone is able to see me. Are you getting me?
Though the lighting is not very good, it was much better area, but still people can see me.
Oh, okay, that's fine. That's fine.
You're still visible. So welcome to Bakwetu TV, Mr. Chisanga.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
Yeah. Before we go into, I introduced, had a brief introduction of yourself, but before we go into the details of the program, can you just introduce yourself to our viewers all over the world?
Okay, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity and even just for having me. My name is Kelvin Chisanga. I've actually done economics centered on the social development policies. And of course, I have started pushing through communication services through an outfit called iNetcom Business Solutions, which I actually established 5 years ago. So basically, I have been giving a voice in terms of economic matters in the nation, where obviously on a weekly basis, I've got about 10 media houses that I actually network with, TV as well as radio stations across the entire nation. Obviously, yes, I've worked in the corporate world for about 15 years, of which I venture now into my self-employment, which I'm currently doing, and that's actually taken about 5 years so far.
That's fantastic, Mr. Chisanga. And I know we came to know each other through Facebook and
Exactly.
through your writings and everything. I knew you were so much eager to see a change in government, because things didn't seem to work very well in the last 10 years. And we came together, introduced you to the global diaspora initiative, so that we can work together. You are not even a UPND member. Yeah, but we both had.
Well, I'm a general player. I do not affiliate myself to any political party, but
Yeah, but at one time you wanted to stand for one political party, but you changed your mind. Yeah, but we came together.
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah, so we came together the last few years.
Yes.
And the goal objective was to change government and bring in the Bali government, and I don't think we made a mistake, and our viewers, before I go into details.
Well, it hasn't been a mistake just per se. Yes.
Yeah, I'll come to you, Mr. Chisanga. Yeah, so our viewers, today we're going to talk about Mr. Chisanga. We had a chat this morning, and Mr. Chisanga is optimistic that there's going to be an economic boom in Zambia. That's one thing we're going to talk about. And then, in addition to that, he says the Zambia's economic prosperity, that boom he's talking about, will have a strong spillover effects to neighboring countries. And then he goes on to say that he would love the diaspora community, which I'm part of, to invest in Zambia. So these are the three things we're going to talk about. And all these three topics are my favorite topics, especially the diaspora, because I think we're having a technical issues in Zambia. This is what I've been talking about, that we need to improve the internet service in Zambia. We've lost our guest. Madam Banks.
Hello, Mr. Chilufya. Good evening.
Madam Linda Banks.
Mr. Chilufya, good evening. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
We are sorry, our viewers. We've got some technical issues, internet issues in Zambia. As usual, Mamuelo, but your internet is very good. How do you manage?
Yeah, the network is
yeah,
really
strategic selection.
Sorry, I'm back. The
Kelvin,
network is really
can you hear me?
here. Yes, I'm getting you loud and
Can you hear me?
Yes, sure.
Can you talk? Can you hear me? I need to hear your voice. Yes,
I'm able to talk now. Yes, I'm getting you. Yeah, sure.
It looks like you mute.
Is that so? I don't think so, because are you able to get me now?
Mr. Chilufya, I think it's you who's got a problem. I can hear Mr. Chisanga all right. Mr. Chilufya, okay. I can hear Mr. Chisanga all right. Can you hear me? Mr. Chisanga, can you hear
all of you. I'm getting all of you very clear, actually.
Okay. I think it's Mr. Chilufya has a problem.
Well, our guest is talking, but I can't hear my guest.
Can you get me?
I can't hear you also.
Oh, bless. I think you have a problem, actually, with your connection.
As we're trying to get Mr. Chilufya back on track, Mr. Chisanga, can you hear me?
Yes, I'm getting you very.
That's fantastic. Very so I think it's definitely Mr. Chilufya who has a problem.
Yeah, sure.
Can you get us at all, Mr. Patrick? Bless. I think, Mr. Chisanga, I think you were explaining prior about your prediction that there's going to be an economic boost or bubble in Zambia.
Yes. I think I can start from there. Yes, looking at the key microeconomic fundamentals. Yes, we are basically looking at how the economy has been trending, where even from the way we saw it from last year and now we are building up the economic patterns. It signifies to say that we are definitely headed for something positive. And even when you look at the key fundamentals that we are able to see, issues to do with inflation, monetary policy, the way it's actually performing, and even just the forex market as well. And the general atmosphere where we also taking into account the political calmness as well. It signifies to say that we are basically going to have some sort of economic boom in a way, because obviously the issue that has also been tabled so strongly by the key players in the central government, where they're talking about the cost of capital. I think that really gives a lot of breathing, interest for business as well. And even just when you look at the whole composition of what has been happening in the Zambian economy, I think it tells to say that we have put a lot of key indicators on the light forum. And
can you hear me?
Can I get you?
Yeah, I can't hear you. Mwelwa, can you kick me out of the studio and then I log in again?
Sure thing.
So can we wait for him?
I think we can go on.
Okay, so I was basically just trying to illustrate the whole scenario of what has been happening with the key microeconomic fundamentals, more so with the indicators where we're able to see quite a number of interesting, conditions that have been set up. And obviously, looking at what we have actually been underscoring in the current economic growth pattern, I think it tells to say that we have gotten to a point where I think Zambia needed to have this situation. If you refresh back where we're coming from, we're coming from a situation where we had quite a number of moving storms, where the whole scenario actually even brings the aspect of debt portfolio, which has been very toxic for our economic growth. And now that there's even just this restructuring of our debts, I think answering even just to that, we have seen what even the World Bank has actually even done today, where they have injected about 665 million, which they have approved, which will actually come forth into this economy. So there are quite a number of sentimental happenings that are also taking place, where we have also seen the private-driven investment also is receiving, capital stock. Talk of Zambia breweries, investing some money into their production. FQM also trying to expand their production by almost 25%. Making the lifespan of about 40 years for their mining expansion. And even just when you look at Mopani, also trying to negotiate with the government to say, can we the KCM issues, where we are seeing the Vindanta also trying to negotiate to come back and see how certain things can be put in shape. And even just when you look at the Mopani also, I think it also caused for us to reshape our restructuring of this shareholding that we have actually ventured into through the ZCCM HI. So quite a number of good sentimental values that we're able to see, and much more when you also see the copper prices that are also on the international market. Though the challenge has been that there has been some fluctuation also on the copper prices as we speak right now. It has gone beyond, a little bit lower. But obviously we are looking at a position where we can make things work out in a better way. I think it calls for us to align some of these mining policies. But obviously, we're also coming from a background where we have made the copper to actually be, subjected to forward contract. I think if we basically try to look at where we can drive even electrical vehicles, I think we need to look at a strategic tax regime which should be able to work out for us starting from next year. Obviously, we cannot benefit so much of copper sales receipt right this moment because of the forward contract that we have actually engaged ourselves into. But obviously, also I'm looking at a way in which we can actually put a lot of things together. Look at even just the agriculture potential that we have right this moment. Oh, by the way, we have also underutilized the agriculture potential, because obviously when you look at agriculture, the way it has actually been done, it's not supposed to be done in this way. So I think we need to look at a better way in which we can restructure our agriculture sector. What we have done is that we've got a very good land for agriculture of about 42 million hectares, of which we are only utilizing about 18%. So if we can basically
Mr. Kelvin,
drive our
can you hold
we can signal significant efforts into agriculture, I think it will really help and give a lot of economic benefit and dividends from there.
Yeah, just order of thoughts. I'm back now. Mwelwa, thank you so much for holding the font. Yeah, so we'll continue. Our viewers, sorry about that. So, okay. Kelvin, I can hear you. You've started explaining, some of the, economic indicators and other things. But I was thinking we take this program in a different way, because you talked about the economic boom. I was in Zambia, and I spoke to a number of people, and some people are skeptical that things are moving slow. There's no money in the economy. In Lusaka, things looked very good. People are building. There's a lot of business going on. But in the Copper Belt, with Mopani not operational, KCM, you know about the challenges in KCM. There are no jobs created. People have been retrenched, and not only that, suppliers, they cannot supply, because Mopani needs about 300 million operational capital investment, so that they operate at the optimal level. Okay. So, Kelvin, you've talked about the economic boom. What makes you optimistic? What can you tell people out there who are, because Zambia is divided into two kinds of people. You can even see our economy, our Zambia has been downgraded now into a lower income country, obviously, because mines are not employing people, so it looks like there's no money, there's no liquidity in the economy. So what makes you think, in a nutshell, what makes you think this economy? But again, when you look at, I'm not saying this government is not doing well. They have only been in government 11 months. They took over an economy that was on its knees. Abundance corruption, no system, no plans, and and they're trying everything. But for me, I know the pace is slow, but I'm optimistic. This country, just like you, is heading towards a boom, but I don't know when. So you talking about the boom. When do you think this boom is coming, and why are you optimistic? What can you tell our viewers there to be optimistic that the boom is coming? Somebody who doesn't have a job, somebody who used to supply in the mines, they cannot supply anymore. In a nutshell, what can you tell those people? How can you encourage them that things are going to be good? Just tighten your belts for now. Over to you, Mr.
Yeah, you see, this statement of economic boom has a lot of composition to it, of which we know that we are coming from a period where the economy was overheating, and so many factors were actually happening, and of which right this moment we've got a lot of moving parts that are basically trying to help complement as well as offsetting some of the effects that we actually had. You may be privy to know that we are coming from a situation where we had the recession in 2020, and we had also a bit of different aspect that we're also not speaking rightly. And obviously, when you look at the issue to do with inflation was having a lot of sparks, of which we had about 24.6%, and we had a very bad condition on the forex market, where the exchange market also was not performing accordingly. And by the way, maybe just to give you this context, the inflation in Zambia always looked strongly from the exchange market. Now that we are controlling the exchange market, and that's the reason why we are having now much of what we are able to see, gravitating in a very good direction. And obviously, yes, the monetary policy rate and a few other composition in the economy are trying out to give us this direction where we're able to see some good conditionality in terms of key indicators. If you look at the inflation patterns, I think for Zambia, it has now given a shape to say, with the an expectation of a short to or medium to short term, we should be able to see certain things, coming back. Even when it comes to pricing model of most of the essential goods, I think it will really be able to start working out in that direction. So now coming back to the point where you mentioned of World Bank using Atlas method to grade Zambia. Obviously, yes, we haven't drifted so much from the grading benchmark. We are talking of something to do with less than $50 actually to qualify ourselves back into the lower medium income. But obviously, the reason why we have actually been led in this direction, because if you look at last year's pattern, even just coming from the previous year, obviously, we know that Zambia has been eaten to a very huge debt question, where we are now trying to look at Euro bonds and a few other non-concession loans that we have actually contracted over 10 years, and of which the bad part that we did with this loan or this financing option was able to actually placed into non-productive, or of course there are productive sectors like infrastructure of roads and all that, but basically we should have taken ourselves to make this money go into a quicker model where we could actually have a very faster revenue to actually augment our challenges. But obviously, yes, what I would say in this case that I think if you look at the pattern for last year, there was supply disruption that was taking place, and we had, elections as Zambia. And even when you look at the pattern that started building up from 2020 up to somewhere last year, we also started building up unemployment rate. So that in itself now became a challenge. So if you look at even the Atlas method of rating by the World Bank, it's compounding from there, where the country right now is facing, or has been facing from last year, has been facing what I would call income poverty, where now we have a situation, people have a small way to actually work out their basket on the monthly purchases. So what I would say in a nutshell is that, yes, that trend can be detained for us very quickly. We should be able to drive ourselves into lower income again, because obviously that's what we have actually looked for.
Is it lower or middle income? Middle income.
Lower middle income, yes, we are able to go back very soon, because if you look at the way things are shaping up, that report which you got or which we have of lower income or low income, it's basically taking a step for last year from January to December. So it's basically looking at what was happening. And by the way, to put this also in a very good context, the letting is now seeming to be accompanying with the electoral process in Zambia. Even 2011, we had a similar pattern where World Bank came on board and led us to this level. So even last year, and if you look at the comparison, it now takes a system of electoral process as well, because we are now in a situation where much of the times with the electoral process, we flash out money. No, the flashing out of money without following the procedure, that also creates inflation on itself. So that also, in one way or the other, also it creates a different scenario of life that we have actually been able to see. So you can see where there is a high unemployment level, then we are also flashing money like no man's business. That creates a very bad combination in the economy. So that is what actually also compounded to that. There was no productivity. So in essence, what I'm trying to say is that there is a need for us to look at how we can counterbalance what has been happening. Obviously, looking at what we are now seeing in terms of patterns, we have seen that central government has actually remained consistent in terms of expenditure columns, and also their income targets also are also doing very well. If you look at the way ZLI also spoke, they have actually done some bit of surplus in terms of their revenue. So that signifies also one of the biggest things that we could actually put on the table to say, I think we are lying in tandem with the what was enshrined in the budget. And now, if you look also the composition of what the budget also was actually speaking when the minister actually announced sometime last year, he mentioned of employing teachers, which we have also seen. The fact that we have got about 30,000 plus teachers, that translates to have about 400,000 people that can benefit, because obviously one person is able to cater for about 10 people in terms of benefit at household level. So that in itself creates an aggregate demand in the economy. So there are quite a number of things that are actually happening, and these good sentimental happenings, they will make up something. And the economy also works with the excitement. So if we are trying to excite ourselves, I think we can also be productive.
That's fantastic, Kelvin. Moving to another question. All the economies that are very stable, I know at the moment inflation is the biggest problem all over the world, even in the UK. Fuel prices have gone up, mainly because of what is happening in Ukraine.
Sure.
But most of the economies that are doing very well, look at the UK, America, though inflation is affecting them, they're still strong economies. In Africa, Botswana, South Africa, at the time of Mandela and Mbeki, not now, they've got very strong fiscal and monetary policies, fundamentals in place, which means is low inflation, low interest rates, stable currencies. I would give you the example, the UK. The UK literally imports everything, but they've made sure that the pound is strong. Because if the pound was weak or unstable, the whole entire economy will collapse. So I'll start breaking it down slowly. So because they say if inflation is going down, then the economy, then which means prices also will be going down. But that doesn't seem to be in the case in Zambia. Inflation is going down, but fuel has gone up, transport has gone up, food has gone. I was in Zambia 3 weeks ago, and then for some people who are involved in chicken rearing business, Hybrid just announced last week that chicks are moving now. Prices of chicks, one-day chicks, will be now 15 kwacha from 14 kwacha. So let's just deal with the inflation. What can you tell us? You're an economist. What does inflation mean? And why, if inflation is going down, shouldn't the price of goods go down also? I'm not an economist, I'm an accountant. Over to you, Mr. Chisanga.
Oh, sure. Okay, just to give you a contextual framework here before I go to just give you the way inflation works. As I mentioned, in our
and
case
this question,
as Zambia,
just hold on. This question is mostly for a lot of Zambians who are asking, like me. I'm not an economist. They are asking. Inflation has dropped so much. The kwacha is now on par with the rand, and we import most of the things from South Africa. Why are the prices going up? So maybe that can give an answer to those Zambians who are asking questions. And then when do you expect the prices to start going down?
Okay. Your question has a lot of compendium of cases to look at. But what I would say in this case is that when you look at the pattern of inflation for Zambia, the biggest culprit comes from the forex market, as I mentioned, because Zambia is import-driven country where we basically also, when we're importing commercial, even essential or whatever goods that we are importing to the nation, we also import a fraction of inflation from wherever we are importing. For example, if we're importing from South Africa, we also import a fraction of inflation from South Africa because of the key fundamentals that underplay production and even the whole entire commercial process. So now with the case that we are talking of, That's the more reason why, if you find that the kwacha dollar is not doing very well, maybe it's got some bit of growth in terms of its performance against the kwacha, you find that even the cost of items will cost a little bit more. But when it starts depreciating, meaning appreciating, meaning that at some point there is what we call lag effect. Lag effect in the case of Zambia, as we have done it in the studies, it takes about 2 to 3 months for it to actually reflect the cost that has actually been reduced. So now coming to the issue of inflation. Inflation is basically the rate at which prices of goods move at. For example, we looked at how inflation was having some spikes last year, where we had about 24.6%, meaning that the cost of goods were moving at that rate of 24.6. So now that the inflation has reduced, so the movement in which the prices will be able to restructure or cost will be able to move at 9.7. So meaning that the reduction is there, but to take what we have in this case, because even within inflation, there are different types of inflation. Right now, what we have is a creeping inflation. It takes a bit of time for it to reflect. It can even take a maximum of about 4 months for it to actually reflect whatever is happening. Obviously, it also comes in to help avoid erosion on the cost of investment, as well as even on the production lines. So what we're able to see is that we are creeping to actually have some good effect at some point. What is happening right this moment is that we need to counterbalance it with production. That's how we can actually quicken the process. But obviously, yes, there are quite other offsetting issues that also are taking the economy. Like we talk of fuel. Fuel is one of the upside risk which we cannot control. And obviously, that's the reason why, if you see, the central bank has been trying to offload a dollar on the market to also stabilize the forex market. Once we have a very stable forex fundamentals, then we are able also to control inflation. And that's what has actually even helped so much, because if you see, the inflation in the Zambian case has come as a result of different components playing or interplaying together. One, as I mentioned, the government policies also have stayed, have actually sustained to a point whereby there hasn't been any inconsistency. So that also is one of the contributing factors to what we are seeing in the inflation. And even when you look at the monetary policy rate, it having unchanged for about 3 times, also that has gravitated the inflation to actually take this positive direction, and few others. So for the inflation to come to where it is right now, it has got different elements interplaying to this position.
That's fantastic, Mr. Chilufya. I now know, and I hope our viewers there understand. But then how soon are we going to start seeing those prices going down? Now that inflation is going down, the kwacha is getting stable. But then before you answer that question,
sure.
As far as I know, I've been watching this government. The fiscal policies are becoming stronger and stronger. But there are some commentators over there. I was reading an article about Zambia on the other day. I've just forgotten where I saw that article. Some commentators are saying though our monetary policies, especially inflation, especially the kwacha, the stability of the kwacha, they are saying our monetary policies are not still strong. They are saying the appreciation of the kwacha is because of 2 things. Some are saying because there are some money from the copper sales, and some are saying most of it is attributed to the fact that we've defaulted the debt. We are not paying anything until we come to a settlement with the lenders. What can you say about that? Because then there is fear that the kwacha will start depreciating once we start paying the debt. Is that true?
You see, before I answer that one, this is one reason why I think myself and a few other people within the circles, we have actually been advocating strongly of the IMF program. The reason why is this. As I mentioned, the economy has actually been coming from a background where there was a lot of overeating effects. And obviously, we know that when there is a huge payment in terms of like the way we are going to have it in September, we're supposed to pay the bullet payment for Eurobond. You see, anytime when there is just that payment where we require to buy some dollars on the market and try to make some payment, even just for fuel, actually, in this case, it destabilizes the forex market. So now, with what is happening right this moment is that obviously, yes, one would say or argue to say the monetary policy let in Zambia or policy stance cannot help to make things right. But again, also, I would not agree with them because for us to even see where the inflation development has taken, it's because the monetary policy rate has been, holding steadily to what we are able to see. And it has really augmented some of the challenges that we are actually being seeing over time. And that's one reason why maybe you may argue with to say the monetary policy rate in Zambia does not correlate with the boost of business. Yes, that will be the collective statement because obviously when they are trying to tighten the belt on the policy stance, it basically deprived the private sector from capital. And if you look at even just what has actually been happening in Zambia as one of the biggest factor, which we have actually been crying over time, it's the capital stock. That's the reason why you find some of us SME, we will find it very difficult to actually make some expansion because we are not privy to have good capital formation. So if we can look at relating the cost of capital with the policy of the central bank, it basically does not correlate, and that's what now we need to do. Even when you look at the typical issue that Bank of Zambia should be able to do is to look at which sector of the economy needs a lot of capital. In fact, if anything, it goes even to say we need to have a situation where we can have financial diversity to play into different sectors of the economy. So now coming back to the issue of you looking at quarter stability, yes, over time, that's the reason why we have actually been calling also for diversity in the economy. We have depended so much on the mining copper receipts, which has actually augmented the effect that we normally see from the forex market. In terms of supply, yes, the sales, copper sales are the ones that have actually been helpful. If you have seen the pattern in the way reserves have actually been for the Bank of Zambia, because of what we have done, we have not done the economic architecture in a very good way. So there's a need for us to look at a better way in which we can make things work out. So now what I'm trying to say is that we need to look at a better system in which we can make this economic structure to have some other complementary sectors to augment the effect that we can also receive from the mining industry. Because there are times where, like the way copper prices have gone down, how do we continue supporting the forex market? It becomes difficult. And the reason why also somehow we need also to look at diversification, I think we need to look at a way in which we can create a saving pot for of course, that's what the reserves sometimes do. But again, also it's not something that is sustainable for us to like cushion the impact of forex market using the reserves. Obviously, yes, we're looking at 3 billion in reserves as we speak right now. So supposing we have a situation where copper goes down, and then we've got a problem of not, putting things in a good way, it becomes difficult. So we should not look at copper receipts to actually incentivize effect that we are able to see from forex market. I think there's a need for us to create a certain buffer in which we can make things light in the quarter-dollar relationship. Sorry, I'm not able to get you now.
Sorry. I usually mute myself when you're talking. I'm so sorry. So this morning, when we talked about the diaspora investing in Zambia, we talked about certain sectors that requires investment: mining, agriculture, transport, tourism. So we're going to come back to that. But I still wanted to take you back. You mentioned something very important: entrepreneurs, small-scale businesses like you.
Sure.
Countries that are doing very well. I always mention about the UK, but people complain, don't talk about the UK, talk about Africa. But then I always give Botswana as an example, where the government is doing something very good, and the small businesses are doing very well. Because not only that the government, not only that Botswana is very stable, fiscally and monetarily, very strong fiscal and monetary policies in place. They've got a lot of money in reserves. The only African country that lends money to the IMF. But they support the small businesses, because in every economy, the UK economy, most of the people, I was shocked, are employed by small businesses. More than half of the UK workforce are employed by companies that employ between 50 to 250 people. They call them medium businesses, size businesses. But the point is, but Kelvin, if that boom has to come, inflation has to be low. The kwacha has to be stable. And then another important thing, interest rates. Because it's easier for a startup to go and borrow money. Not only that, in the UK and in Botswana, the government even provide grants for small businesses. And also they provide guarantees for small businesses, because they know that startups are very difficult. But once they start, they will be making money. The interest rates are very low, and it's easier to borrow. This is why we're going to talk about the diaspora, because where we sit here, the interest rates are very low. I can go and borrow at 3%, maximum 6%, and come and invest in Zambia. We'll talk about that. But then the point is, but Kelvin, if you're saying the economy is going to boom, how is it going to boom with those interest rates, which are so high? And you've been talking about diversification of capital market. When are the interest rates going to? Because it's very important for business to boom, especially the startups, the small businesses. Over to you.
Yes, sure. Yes. So as I mentioned, the microeconomic indicators are suggesting a good atmosphere when it comes to the economic patterns. And obviously, the macro indicators also quietly start responding to the macro indicators. So meaning that whatever is happening at the macro level, where we have inflation, we have also jobs creation and human capital, accelerating, and all these other things. Basically, even at the level of companies, at the level of macro, environment, we'll be able to see some of these things also trying to, take certain good effects. And we should be able to see that in one or the other, there is just going to be a spillover effect in whatever we are trying to see. If you maybe able to see that, I said just about over 30,000 teachers who are actually employed. As I mentioned, one person is able to benefit about 10 people. And if you look at 30,496 people that have actually been employed and multiply by 10%, you're talking about 400,000 people going to benefit from there. That's just a simple, way in which you can actually understand from there. But again, also, the people that will be employed or that have actually been employed will be able to start spending. So they'll create aggregate demand in a way. So as the economy takes that shape, obviously, even the goodwill that we're able to see where there is an equal balance in terms of economic participation. If you remember the last time we had the previous, government, there was just this cartel of people that would just, have some contract. But now everyone can have a small piece of a cake from there. So I think it's a situation where it just calls for hard working. This is a situation where we need just to look at pushing a lot of productivity into whatever we're trying to see or do. Then again, also the other aspect is the aspect of just trying to see how best can we take advantage of the good atmosphere that we are creating. Obviously, government now is just saying, here is the conducive atmosphere. Can you flourish? Obviously, we have seen that the government has spoken highly on value addition. At the moment, Zambia has a very small manufacturing base, and we have a very huge space for service, which actually now calls for us to start diversifying our labor skills. What we have done to this economic structure is not a good one. So what we need to do now, even to see good effect coming into this nation, is to restructure ourselves. We have seen Honorable Chipoka Mulenga speaking about industrialization, and we've seen also the Minister of SME talking about local participation, where there is also local content policies that should be able to work out. So if we see all this combination of what is happening, I think it calls for us to look at a better way in which we can do these things. Yes, I'm looking at now the cost of borrowing. As I mentioned, the issue of microeconomic indicators showing this positivity, it will translate into what we are able to see now in one way or the other, where we'll be able to see macro indicators also trying to take a step also. So the moment we keep holding what is happening right this moment, we steadily grow to a point where we put things in perspective. We should be able to see that some of these things will start working out very well. Yes, when you talk about Botswana has also a lot of advantages for it to actually achieve where they are. There is beef, which is actually going into Europe. In our case, just recently, we started now exporting avocado into Europe. And obviously, that had to take a lot of things to be in place. We had to look for phytosanitary, services, or rather the certification, so that we can actually be doing that. But again, also, we haven't expanded our export bill, apart from copper, which is our traditional export in this case. So there's a need for us to actually expand so much in agriculture. And as I mentioned, we have underutilized agriculture in a way where our produce in terms of output is not that equivalent to what we are able to throw into the other markets. Even when you look at the appetizing regional market like Congo, Angola, even Zimbabwe, as well as Tanzania, if you look at even just Zimbabwe itself, they are looking at 400,000 metric tons of maize for them to feed the whole entire nation. Look at even the Kenyan situation also. They are looking at 510 metric tons to feed Kenya. And we don't have that capacity. And by the way, we actually even underproduced maize this year, where we just went as far as 2.7 million metric tons, and our capacity most of the time goes up to somewhere close to 4 million. We didn't do much because of climate change and a few other issues. Even when you look at the way election was also conducted, and even when the government came into power, I think it could not give them much time to actually arrange this and to make things work out. So somehow, I think as I mentioned, we have underplayed agriculture in a sense that if you look at Malawi is not advanced as it is with Zambia, but they are able to produce about 5 million metric tons of maize, and they don't have the export market. They don't have the scope to see the potential that lies in the region. So Zambia plays advantageous position in this situation. So I think there's a need for us to look at where we can just put linkages and synergies together and see how we can push much more of what we have seen. Look at even Angola. Angola is importing rice from Brazil, importing most of the items from Brazil, and yet we are just neighbors here. So you see, there is so much that we can do, but we are failing to actually do some of these things. So it calls for a very strong political will. And I appreciate that we have a president who is a farmer. Maybe we need to look at a Minister of Agriculture. How is he doing? Can we have somebody who's robust and aggressive so that he can drive this, so that we're able to see how agriculture can come into economic host? You know, we should make agriculture to be one of the key economic hosts as well, complementing mining, so that we're able to see how we can work out some of the things from there. And by the way, also, we need also to align ourselves to say mining as being one of the biggest sector in the economy. And obviously, we haven't done substantially good to sustain the policies within the mining. That's the reason why it's very unpredictable for us to see. Obviously, yes, even when you look at the economic patterns for mining pricing, it changes from there to here. But again, also, we need to look at a way in which we can salvage the pricing model to not to disadvantage the changes that we have actually been receiving from time to time.
That was fantastic. You mentioned about Botswana as a benchmark. Yes, I do agree with you that Botswana comes a long way. But the way this government has started and moving, give it another 10, 20 years, we can be like Botswana. Because that's how Botswana started. Strong government, political will, good governance, less corruption. And then they started putting very stringent policies in place. You know, strong physical and monetary policies in place. You know, Botswana has got laws to protect the local businesses like you.
Exactly.
You can only invest in Botswana if you go with $500,000 as an investor, minimum. $500,000, and then you cannot go to Botswana and start selling chickens in the street as an investor. Exactly. They won't allow you. So these are some of the things we need to, because Botswana, they've done it so smartly in such a way that for a small Swana business to grow, they thought they needed some intervention, they needed some protection. You know, I would give an example. There are a few Zambians from the diaspora who have come together. They've started a solar farm in Zambia somewhere. I'm not going to mention about them because I'm going to have them on Bakwetu one of these days, so that they can tell the country what they've done. But then the problem which is there is another company in a mining company in Solwezi, somewhere there, they want to go into solar. If it was in Botswana, they would say, no, you can't. It's either you go into a joint venture with the Botswanas, or we're not even going to allow you because you're going to affect the Swanas. And then if you look at Botswana, they've got diamonds, they had copper in a place called Serebe Pikwe. Then it closed, it finished. So they've got diamonds and agriculture, beef. We've got the potential to grow in agriculture. We've got mining. But what the Swanas did from the word go, they never allowed anybody to invest either in agriculture or in mining without the Swanas owning 50%. And they also made sure that the forex exchange controls are very strong, so that 50% comes into Botswana once they sell the diamonds. That 50% from the beef, I think beef is almost owned 100% by the Swanas. So all that cash comes in. Look at Zambia. There's transfer pricing. The copper we're selling now is at $3,000 because the price has been fixed. So, Kelvin, what should we do as a country to benchmark ourselves with Botswana? Over to you.
Yes. Yeah, sure. I think, as I mentioned, the Minister of Trade, Minister of Commerce, Trade and Industry had an act which was not being utilized or implemented. this local content policy has been there for some time. We haven't just enacted it into action. And obviously, yes, this is when we are now able to see the importance of bringing the citizen participation in the economic structure. And obviously, when you look at the whole issue here is that we need first to look at the shareholding structure so that we are able to promote. Because what we have done to ourselves that we have let much of the investment taken into the hand of foreign-based investors. And that in itself has created a capital flight most of the times, where we have a huge demand for dollar going out, or huge demand of currency, flocking out of these regions. So what we need to do is that, yes, we need to look at a shareholding structure, and that will really help augment the effect of capital flight. And again, also, if you also to look at the other issue also here is that we need to look at industrialization to be the main bedrock, fully participated by the local people as well. As I mentioned, Zambia being the import-induced country, what we have done to ourselves, we have promoted the huge section of service where everyone is a seller in the market, and whatever it is that we are getting from South Africa or whichever regions, we are able just to become channels of distribution and all that. So what we need now is a system where we start now make diversification in our human capital, so that we look at creating a robust manufacturing base, then reduce that to a level where we have agriculture feeding now into manufacturing. Then the service should be a small portion, so that we're able to see how that way we'll be able even to actually make things work out for forex market, and also be able to create the highly needed employment level that we need to augment as well. So with what you have also said, I'll complement to say that yes, I think we need to start to model ourselves to what our colleagues are doing in the region, especially Botswana. Botswana is a shiny example of many things. And now coming back to the copper sales that we have also been, taking in this way. Yes, we have missed out as Zambia. Just some time from, I think, mid of 2020 up to somewhere a few days ago, copper was on super cycle. We never actually utilized this opportunity to actually even, make things light here and there. But again, also, we still have the super cycle, despite whatever has been happening where the prices have gone down. We need to start arranging ourselves a proper policy medicine, so that we're able to see how we can, make full good of copper performance. So what we need to do is, obviously, what has also let down with the copper prices or copper output for Zambia is because of the issues to do with KCM as well as Mopani. We haven't put these big giants in proper shape. By the way, we are looking at producing copper to a maximum of about 3 million metric tons. We can do that. Look at Mopani and KCM. They're able to produce about 1.5 million metric tons, just these two. So what has been happening? What has been happening over time that FQM has been actually, having huge output, and it's one that has actually been doing very well for this economy. Even when you look at the tax receipts, they are basically coming from there. But again, also the model that we are embraced of VAT refunds, it's also what is choking when it comes to the revenue side. I think we need to also unlock some of these issues that have actually been challenging so much in the taxation of mining. But again, so coming now to the aspect of the general overview of our economic fundamentals, I think we don't need the Chinese to come all the way from China to come and just set up a poultry, maybe unless at a very large scale, where we are not able to, maybe that large scale should be more to export into the region, so that those who are doing small scale, they're able just to sell within the local market. I think that we need to look at, restructuring some of these things. they don't need to start competing yourself with the Chinese at Soweto market, selling 60 kwacha, you're supposed to be selling 80 kwacha, 100 kwacha, then you are making losses.
Kevin, just hold your peace. Just hold your thoughts. You correct. I was in Zambia. I traveled a lot, and obviously as a diaspora and looking at investments, and one of the businesses that is doing very well in Zambia is the chicken business, because you can sell a lot of people in the copper belt. They're now selling into Congo, which thankfully the president has done very good marketing with Congo. Congo has loosened up and they're doing very good business. But then Chinese also are selling chickens. And also, you mentioned about agriculture. Zambia can become the breadbasket of Africa. What I saw from Lusaka town center, Cairo Road, up to 22 miles, somewhere near Chiwombo, is agricultural products. Watermelons, tomato, chickens. But then to allow a Chinese to come and sell chickens, because a Chinese can come with a lot of money and keep 5,000, 20,000 chickens. And what about the Zambian who is keeping 50, 100? Because it's volumes. The Chinese will sell at 60 kwacha. The Zambian wants to sell at 100 kwacha or 90, 95 kwacha. Botswana has got laws to restrict that. But then the other point is, you mentioned about agriculture. Minister of Agriculture, do we have statistics? You remember the onion thing? Onions were rotting in Zambia, and yet they were importing onions until they came up with the statutory instruments. Chickens, there are a lot of Zambians who are doing chickens now. Are there statistics somewhere how much chickens are needed in the market? Because that's the work of Minister of Agriculture in conjunction with the Statistics Department. So that we stop companies like ShopRite, Pick and Pay, importing chickens from South Africa and buy them from Zambians. Over to you.
Yes, I agree with you 100% on that. I think that's one reason why there is so much of the advocacy on the local content policy to fully actualize its content. Obviously, it's coming from the background where we have seen that in terms of participation for local players, right this moment, we cannot point to say the Zambian who's got money in billions, maybe except one or two people, because we have not given ourselves an opportunity to actually explore our local market, even if it's a small market right this moment, but in a small way, we can actually grow it and we can fully participate. Again, also, it goes with our attitude in Zambia. We've got a very poor mindset, a very poor culture toward hard work. I think even the education pattern, what we have done to our educational growthing is not a very good way, because we have done some contents which are not matching to the industry requirement. So there's a need for us to make some revision or reformation in the education policy. Thank God we are now seeing some of these things also actualizing, like the 2020 Education Act has really done some heavy lifting in a way where we are able to see now ITC is interplaying to secondary school and primary school in a way. We are able to see financial education also coming on board. Just some few weeks ago, they were launching financial, education for grade 9, grade 8, and up to grade 12, starting from grade 8. So that also signifies to say that we are now going in the right direction, because obviously over time we are at a situation where we are learning about grasshopper when we're supposed to do something that is substantially good for the economy. So we need now to look at matching education with the industry requirement. I think that is very cardinal for us to move in a very good direction, and for us to create a good narrative in terms of booming the economic fundamentals. I think we need to look at a way, like the way you have mentioned, restricting some of the investors in businesses. Like, you don't need to have a restaurant run by Lebanese, when a Zambian can run that restaurant. You see, we should look at Lebanese to actually go into something bigger, so that we are able to also create space, and that's how we can even create space for more employment local. Like this moment, we're talking of half of a population for Zambia, which is about 9 million, are not employed. You see, so that is what is so augmenting to what we are talking of low income letting, which the World Bank also came about. So now, if we can create a capacity for local players, I think that will really help. You know, the privilege working in Ghana, Ghanaians, very hardworking people. The only composition for government or civil servant, it's about 25% of the total population of the employed people there. 75% of people are people that are employed, self-employed, or they are employed through an SME. So we need to create a situation where we remove the burden from the government and press into private sector-driven projects.
That's fantastic, Kelvin. I know about Ghana. I know about Nigeria. Nigeria, about 80 million people, 80 million Nigerians. They hustle. They look after themselves. They don't care about the government. And they've got a very good work culture. But then, Kelvin, you mentioned something very important, education. Education. But my cry in Zambia, I was in Zambia, is internet facilities. Very, very bad. You know, the UK, I always talk about the UK because I live here. I've been here since 2006. The government came up with a policy that each house should have a fast broadband, because they knew that, you know, where we are going, you know, internet will be very important. Each house should have a broadband, fast internet. We've got 5G now in our houses. Fast internet. And the government made sure that fiber is rolled. And, you know, private sector will never do it. The government has to make sure that that is done. And that has created, you know, during COVID, the whole country was closed. We were not going to work. But I worked from home for 2 years because I've got fast internet and I can just log into our server and work. And now, a lot of companies now, we're working from home. I only go to the office 2 days a week. And not only that, it has also created a lot of jobs for young people. You know, blogging. How do you blog? You cannot blog if you don't have good internet.
Yeah, that's
fast
very true.
Internet. Bloggers make money. You know, once you reach 5,000 viewers on Facebook, you're earning money every month.
Yeah, sure.
Now imagine how many jobs can be created by young Zambians just blogging on internet. Or Forex business. There's so many Forex platforms where people can make money. But we need to have fast internet. And I've been following one of the ministers, Mutati. He's been talking about ICTU and very good ideas, you know, introducing IT in schools. You know, countries like South Korea, kids as early as five years old, they can code. You know that? 5-year-old, they can code because they're taught. And coding is very important. But the point is, how are we gonna grow as an economy when the internet is so bad, especially in Zambia? Yes, the ideas are very good. Mutati's ideas are excellent. Start teaching those kids grade 5, they are coding. Then what we need to do to improve you live in Zambia. We lost you at one point because of internet connection. It's some places in just 20 miles. The internet is horrible. You get into Saka, it's very good. MTN, fantastic. Some of them, Airtel, you can't even, 20 miles out of Lusaka, you cannot do anything. Zamtel. What should we do to improve? What needs to be done to improve the internet in Zambia? And do you think it's important for business?
Yes. Yes, digital economy is actually bringing a lot of substantial benefit to economic performances. Obviously, when you look at even just the way things are happening, I would also love to say that knowledge economy, where we seem to now get to have a lot of information across, much more now with the internet, it's basically just very helpful for us to grow economically. So with the pattern that we are creating, in fact, with the creation of the Ministry of Science and Technology, we can drive economic fundamentals through science and technology models.
Fantastic.
And obviously, looking at what Honorable Felix Mutati is doing, I think it is in a right direction. He's trying to get a light gear for the ministry. And much more when you look at the ministry, is also trying to rearrange some of these things, because it's quite a new ministry in Zambia. We are technology ministry, but in a different embedded, folia. But in this case now, it's coming so strongly as an outstanding and independent ministry, which is just focusing on trying to champion ITC development in Zambia. And obviously, when you look at the serious spirit that the minister also is coming with, I think it shows to say that we need to look at the best way we can unlock economic benefit through ITC. And what we need to do in this case is that we need to basically push ourselves with education. You see, our friends in Nigeria, the little girls, little boys, they start learning coding at a very tender age. But in our case, we only start doing that when we're in university. So that is what I'm trying to say, that there's a need for us to make some information in our education policy, to start making it in a way that it should be industry reflective, so that even when you reach a point where you are in university, you're able to do certain things, at a larger scale. Even when you look at our engineers, sometimes you find it just on paper. So there's a need for us to, bring the aspect of practicality and ensuring that we basically grow the economy using science and technology. You see, so with the ITC, yes, there's a need for us to start expanding the horizon of reach in terms of operations. If you look at the way we have done in terms of operation for IT services, they are basically along line of rail. We need to expand and grow our operation tentacles, even to places that we need to expand. What we have done to ourselves, that we have created a very huge gap, So I think there's a need for us to find a way. How can we bring the monitoring and evaluation aspect of development, even within the governments, central governments, and also even the other issue that I've seen, that I think there's a need to look at so many ways that we can actually help within the government, even from citizen perspective. We have not done so much, and even what we have done to ourselves, that we always look to get employed into government in order to stay well or to live well. I think there's a need to create some sort of like value addition for government, where we start, putting certain things that can help the government to augment certain challenges that they face. The moment we start looking at, providing a service and maybe trying to also make a cost value for that service, we can create employment as well. So we need to look at a way we can, do certain things out of box. So that is what is required for us to start looking at a best way we can marshal ideas that can be productive.
That's fantastic, Mr. Chilufya. Before we go into the last part, which you requested, the diaspora, one of our Bakwetu family members, one of our anchors, Kelvin Chisanga, has asked a question, and I'm going to read it. Okay. Today, I think Zambia has been, I don't know whether they announced that 65 million 665 million? Is it World Bank? World Bank announcement.
Yes.
Now,
Yes.
Now, Mr. Chimba is asking, what does this 665 million mean to the ordinary Zambian? Over to you.
Well, this is a complementary, package, which basically, in essence, we know that World Bank, IMF, and even the International Finance Corporation, and much more other bilateral partners who are actually financing much of these activities in most of the poor and developing countries or advanced countries. They basically look at the key fundamentals. Right this moment, as we speak, we had the AU meeting which was taking place in Zambia, and we had a number of key stakeholders who came through into this economy. And obviously, we also were coming from certain independent visits that were made by the World Bank themselves, as well as the IMF, trying to check things trying to see how best they can help Zambia, or trying to guide Zambia in terms of what has been happening. The biggest thing, or the biggest element in the Zambian case, it's the debt portfolio. So the 665 million, which was offered by World Bank, or which has been pronounced by World Bank today, signifies a very good signal for us to see how best we can reduce poverty on most of our people, and also how we can trigger economic growth. We have seen that the economy is in a position that it requires now to maintain a steady growth. So their sentimental signing of this 665 million, basically it's just coming to help push certain key fundamentals to work out, so that we start now producing or become productive society, so that we can now meet even issues to do with the debt reconciliation, debt repayment, and few other that we are supposed to actually, make ourselves there. And obviously, the obligation of repayment for Euro bonds as well as other non-concession loans, it requires that we need to build or buffer our economy in a very stable direction. So this is what is happening right now. It's just coming to help cement some of those gaps, so that we are able to cushion. You know that World Bank has been supportive of social cash transfer and few other social amenities that we have actually been seeing. So partly it can underplay the need for us to actually put into that, and also the aspect of building the economic profile, so that we are able to sustainably work out certain things in the economy.
Yeah. Okay. So is this a loan, a grant? What are we going to repay it back? What is it?
Eventually, yes, it will be paid back at some point.
Okay, that's fantastic. Now, coming to the last part of our show, our viewers, we've got Mr. Kelvin Chisanga, who is a social economist, and he's also an entrepreneur. One person, young man I respect. He doesn't care about being employed. He was employed for a while. Now he's self-employed, which is excellent. Next time I come into Zambia, Kelvin, we need to sit down and talk about some businesses.
I think I'll work on my lighting system, so that my face can be visibly seen from there.
Yeah. So Kelvin, you don't live in the diaspora, but you want the diaspora to invest in Zambia. Before I ask you a question, the diaspora investment in Zambia is one of the things I've been agitating for over 20 years. Yeah, because I saw what other countries were doing. I've been out of Zambia since 1996, lived in South Africa for 10 years. I saw how other diaspora, like mostly Nigerians in South Africa, in how they came together, start investing in their countries, building houses. So I've been agitating for this since Mwanawasa government. Yeah, but it didn't take off, but it took off under RB, by the way. There was a first diaspora Indaba in Lusaka in 2009, and then he died because when Sata came in, he just had a terrible attitude about the diasporas. Yeah. So, but the point I'm trying to drive home is, despite that, we had a diaspora conference in Livingstone, which was a very good step in the right direction, but had issues with that. And last week, I wanted the Minister of Foreign Affairs to be on our program. He was busy, I knew. I wrote to him. He responded that I speak to his permanent secretary, Mr. Mbula. I emailed Mr. Mbula. Mr. Mbula told me, send me a formal invite. I emailed. And then I got a response yesterday that Mr. Stanley Kakubo is not available. And then Mr. Mbula also is on vacation or something, on leave. But I'll keep on pushing that because there's so many questions that the diasporas are asking. And I'll give you a brief background, then I'll ask you questions.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. So I pray that one day Mr. Kakubo comes here, or Mr. Mbula comes here, because it's very, very important, because the conference that was in Livingstone, very good, but was only represented by 3-4 diasporan groups. And yet we've got so many diasporan groups in the diaspora. So in essence, our Zambian diaspora is fragmented. That's one point. I'll come to that. And then I've done some research. I live with the diaspora all over. The diasporan countries that are doing very well, the countries that are doing very well with the diasporans are Nigeria, no doubt. They received the biggest remittances, 17 billion, 17.5 billion, 2021, which equates to about 6% of their GDP. But the countries that are doing very well are Ghana and Kenya. Ghana has got what they call diaspora engagement policy, which is a law. And then on top of that, Ghana has got a diasporan affairs desk in the office of the president. That's how they see the diaspora, the importance of the diaspora. They say the diaspora is a developmental partner, and we're going to work in collaboration with the diaspora. Ghana, apart from other diasporan countries that are dealing with the diaspora, they've even moved a step further. They're not only attracting the Ghanaian diaspora, they're also attracting Native Americans by providing them land and help them to settle. So come and settle back home. You are slaves in America, come back home. So they're doing very well. Kenya, they've got a very good diaspora policy. And, oh, by the way, Ghana, they've got even a director general sitting in the office of the president, advising the president on the diaspora issue. Kenya, very strong diaspora policy. Kenya, we've got a diaspora desk in the office of the president. Then on top of that, they've got what is known as Diaspora Advisory Council, sits in the office of the president, advising the president on the diaspora issues. Kenya was fragmented, just like Zambia. They've got 45 diasporan groups. What did they do? The government came up with a law and came up with a federation, like Zambia Congress of Trade Union. All the unions come under that. So they've got a federation of diasporans. It's a gazetted organization. It brings all the diasporans together, 45 of them. Yeah, but then Kenya, in foreign policy, they've got a clause that talks about the diaspora. It's called diaspora diplomacy. How to deal with the diaspora. This is how they've looked at the diaspora. Very, very important. African Union calls the diaspora the 6th region of Africa. In Zambia, our own president calls the diaspora the 11th province. In Ghana and Kenya, you know, there's a census in Zambia. They do also the census for the diaspora. So they know how many diasporans are there. Kenya even knows how many active diasporans are there.
Oh.
And they even know the per capita income of each diaspora living in the diaspora. Now the question, we come back to Zambia. You interested in the diaspora investing in Zambia? A lot of diasporans are investing in Zambia. I'm going to bring one of them very soon on our program.
Okay.
But it's a small way. We're all trying to invest in Zambia, but in a small way. So my question is, why do you want the diaspora to invest in Zambia? What are the incentives?
Well,
you want diaspora to invest in Zambia. Why do you want them?
You see, the current opportunities that are being seen in the country right this moment have actually gotten to a point where they can give good economic dividends for people that are able to access cheaper cost of capital. And I'm very much aware that places like UK, India, United States of America, and other places in the region globally, they have a small percentage when it comes to the issues of interest rate. And if you are able to get something from there out of a very low cost of value for that money, and then you invest into Zambia, and particularly looking at agriculture, which has been very untapped potential in this case, you are able to get a lot of value from there. And you can get good economic dividends as well from even tourism, which is now, obviously, we know that Zambia now has positioned itself to have international visitors. Look at the airport infrastructure right now. They are good. Copper Belt, that is Simon Mwansaka Pwepwe, KK International Airport, and Arimwananga Nkumbula. They have upscaled some of these. And we now need just to also explore the northern circuit in terms of tourism in the region, where we basically have to see how best we can develop infrastructure such as accommodation in the northern circuit. Tishimba Force, all these other Tumbachushi and a few other force, we haven't actually given good face to all this infrastructure. And if you go, what we have actually been seeing, some of the things that we're able to see from Livingstone can be replicated in the northern circuit, and we can make money out of it. And if anything, there is abundant water in this side of Zambia. We haven't even done so much in terms of road network. So now, the reason why I want the diaspora to come and invest in Zambia is to basically maybe work with a spirit of unity of purpose, where you have a vehicle that can actually put all of you together, put the power.
Actually, hold your thought, Mr. Chilufya. That's the question I want to ask you. One of the things you told me this morning, that we need a strong investment vehicle driven by the participation of the diaspora audience. What did you mean by that? Over to you.
What I meant by saying the investment vehicle is where you agree in principle as people from their diaspora, community, engage in a way where they can even be legal, signing of some sort, where you have a partnership of deed, to a point where you have a company learning and you are the shareholders of that company. You employ Zambians here. I think that can work out very well. If anything, put that company being on the stock market. You've got the capital. See, the reason why I'm saying this, look at Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe, by the way, in Africa, it's the highest country that is actually having huge participation from diaspora, where they are even, participating up to somewhere like 10% of the GDP in terms of remittance and a few other monetary value that comes through the diaspora community. So we can make the same. And they depend so much on it. So it's the same what I'm trying to think, to say, what we need to do is people from diaspora should be able to come together, create a unity of purpose, a basis where everyone should have an idea of what they want to achieve. And at the end of it all, you are working so hard in the diaspora, places. The economic aspect that you can actually bring to this nation can be so massive because you've got access to capital where you are, and your capital is cheaper compared to the African setup. Here, when I'm getting a loan or I'm getting anything, it becomes difficult. Even when I'm given a order for about 500,000 kwacha, just to service that order, it takes a lot of things. The bank here will ask for collateral, maybe a collateral that they ask for a house. They will not ask for a car. Even if I've got 3 or 4 cars, they will not ask for it. And much more now, with even the composition of the title deeds, we've got a problem here. When you look at the title deeds offered by the city council or councils, if you are applying for a loan, it takes longer, and they will not even be able to give you at some point when they do the evaluation. When you're applying for a loan using title deeds using the Ministry of Lands, they will give you quickly because they know that the process of them turning that property into their names with any default, it's easier. So that's what now we need to also look at and unlock some of these issues that we can look at and make things work out. But for the case of diaspora, as I'm saying, there is vast land. As I earlier on mentioned, to say we have a problem here where we are basically utilizing about 18% of the land, which is just over about 42 million hectares. So now, look at Congo. Congo is an ever-appetizing market which needs actually Zambians' produce. They are not doing farming, those guys. And much more, it is very painful for us to fail, or rather to make ourselves go in the line of a second producer of copper in Africa when Congo is having conflict. You see, Congo has been having conflict even right now as we speak. We do not have much of what we need to see from the way Congo works out. But in the case of what we are able to see is that we lost it from 2015. We lost it. We had the position of highest producer of copper, but because of the way we have done gymnastics on the policy guideline for mining, that's why we are finding ourselves in this. But in the case of Congo, Congo has got a very vast market. Anything that you sell, like in the case of goat meat, if you buy goat meat here in Lusaka for about 400 kwacha, you take it to Kasumbalesa. Just by Kasumbalesa itself, you're talking of about 1.2 kwacha for a goat. So now, what I'm trying to say is that there are quite a number of opportunities that we have here, but we just need to see how best can we get the necessary capital. So if you diaspora people have got the capital, I think it's high time you look at forming an investment vehicle, legislate in a way that it can be registered, and have proper shareholdings in that. Let it start operating. You can make margin from there. The sales opportunities are quite vast. And if you look at even just the way things have worked out right now, I think we are looking at a very calm situation in terms of political line. And even just when you look at the key fundamentals also are performing in a direction that if you are to come with capital, I think the business can be good for you.
That was fantastic, Kelvin. I was not long ago, I was talking to somebody, and somebody gave me a very good tip. You remember I've mentioned the countries that are doing well in terms of the diaspora. Kenya, Ghana. Kenya, they've given the diaspora, because wherever these, these two countries, I'm keeping Kenya and Ghana, because they are the ones who are doing very well. They are organized. In Kenya, the government facilitates everything. They've given land, 2 types of land to the diaspora. One is to develop a city called Malindi. You've heard about Malindi. It's being developed by the diaspora. Because one, the government is involved. The government is an enabler. They don't need to provide any cash. They work in collaboration with the diaspora. They've got, and this is what I've been agitating. This is why I needed Mr. Kakubo here. This is why I needed Mr. Mbula here. Because what I've been saying is we need a diaspora advisory council sitting in the office of the president, advising, because none of those guys knows the diaspora. And not only that, the Zambian diaspora is fragmented. If they done a research, why is it so fragmented? Why are the Kenyans, 45 diaspora groups have come together to form one group under one federation, one umbrella? They are building a city called Malindi. It's a greener city, which falls under our minister Nzovu, if it was in Zambia. Greener ministry by the diaspora. Just hold on, I'm having problems with electric. I need to charge my computer.
Okay.
I didn't connect the cable.
Okay. Maybe whilst you are there, I can take some questions here.
No, I'm here. So, Kelvin, I'm just trying to give you some context. So they're building a city called Malindi. The government gave them land for free. They helped them to get the title deeds. In Zambia, to get a title deed is an issue. And then there are laws now protecting the diaspora investment in case of a new government coming into power. So, and then they've given also another land called Taku in Kenya. Those diasporans now who are retiring, they want to go and go back to Kenya. They can go and settle in that place. It's also a greener city, but just for settlement housing of the diaspora. You know, title deeds, they'll give you land for free, title deeds, and then you build your land. So these are some of the things that are making those countries to do well. You know, and this is the reason why I've been agitating that we have a diaspora advisory council, so that they can bring all the diaspora, even a desk, even a permanent secretary for the diaspora, so that they can bring all the diaspora together, and then we start doing big things. I know a lot of diaspora groups. Some have got 1 million investing in the bonds. Some were in Livingstone. They want to invest in estates. Some are in America. Why can't we bring all these diaspora together? And then do we have the statistics? Kenya knows how many Kenyans are in the diaspora. So they know how to plan. You can only plan if you've got data, if you've got statistics. Don't you think we need a desk, a diaspora desk, somewhere in the office of the president or Minister of Foreign Affairs to coordinate all these diaspora? Because Kelvin, I can assure you, we all want to come and invest in Zambia. But then, what is an incentive? I'll give you an example. The diaspora this year is remitting about 650 billion. One of the reasons is because of the war in Kuwait, in Ukraine. So the outflow into the diaspora, because Ukraine now is a diaspora, is $360 billion. World Bank says that those remittances are just for consumption, and they only amount to 5% of what the diaspora has in their savings. So what the diaspora now wants is there an incentive for us to go and invest home? Then they can tap into another 20-15% and come and invest in big projects in Zambia, because we need to shift our mind, like the theme in Livingstone, shifting our mindset. Gone are the days when you look for investors from outside. The investors are Zambians in the diaspora. But there is another point, and this is the question I'm going to ask you. Ghana, which does not have the environment Zambia has, and I'll go through them, is attracting Native American diaspora, bringing a lot of money from America, investing in relocating from America and resettling in Ghana. Zambia, good climate, lovely country, lovely people, with a president who has got a political will, fight corruption, good governance, equality. Equity, tourism, Victoria Falls, the North, Luangwa National Park, Kafue, Zambians are hardworking, educated. Don't you think Zambia can attract other diasporans from other countries, especially neighboring African countries, and come and live in Zambia as diasporans and invest in Zambia? What should we do to achieve that? Don't you think we need a diaspora desk somewhere, Office of the President, or diaspora advisory council somewhere advising the president on the diaspora issues and bringing all the Zambian diaspora groups together? Over to you.
I think for me, the biggest catch here would be to have a diaspora desk under Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And it should be strongly embedded with a lot of authority in a way that it's supposed to operate like an agency of some sort, strongly looking at a way to develop the welfare of diaspora community. And there should be a two-way engagement in terms of stakeholder interest between the diaspora and as well as the government itself. But again, also the challenge that has been there is that we haven't aligned most of these things in a proper way. Obviously, yes, I would agree with some sentimental comments where somebody is saying trust and dishonesty, jealous mindset, and all those things. Yes, we have this problem. So we have also a Ubuntu problem that we need to sort out. But what I would say in this case, that I think it also starts with you, Mr. Chilufya. It starts with me. It starts with everyone else. For us to get the required economic progress that we need to score for this nation, we need to start now holding each other's hand and see the potentiality that each one of us has to put on the table. So if that perception that you are creating, the atmosphere that you think can be a good way, I think it's high time we look at trying to use gear one to start with it and see how best we can drive this. Obviously, for me, I've said over time to say, I think there is a need for us to see how we can help the people from diaspora. Let's see if we can help them register a company here, register anything that they can register. Let them also have some sort of like voting right whom they want to work with in Zambia. I think that's what you need to look at on the private sector side. So I think it calls for us to look at how best can we use also the diaspora to be a key voice, because what we have done to ourselves, that even when it comes to voting, you people in diaspora, you don't vote. So it's cause now for you to start voting.
Those are the points I'm asking. Why are we not involved in census? So if you want the diaspora to come and invest in Zambia, and they are so important, you don't know how many they are. We don't vote. We are the 11th province. We don't have an MP. We don't have a PS or not even a desk. Kelvin, some of us, we don't believe in gaining what we do. I was involved. You know that. What we wanted is PF to go so that things change. Yes. We wanted a new, change, things to be done differently. And we are fighting for a better Zambia. We're working together with the government. I, for one, knows the power of the diaspora because I live in the diaspora. The diaspora can be a vehicle to invest in Zambia and also to bring imports from Zambia into the... Nigerians, they import everything, fish, everything. So Zambians can use the diaspora as a vehicle to import from Zambia to here because there is demand for Zambian food here. Kelvin, when I come to Zambia, I come with 2 suitcases. You know what I put in there? Isabi, Ishi. Nigerians, they bring them to sell. But if but that is, imagine a Zambian businesswoman selling Isabi Yauma, exporting to the UK. It can happen if there is organization. So Kelvin, and I'll never stop because I'm not doing this to be given a job in government. I'm doing it for Zambia. I'm doing it for my children, for my grandchildren. A week before I came to Zambia, I wrote to the president's aide, Mr. What is his name? Mr. Machila.
Okay.
That I need to see the president. Because these are some of the things I wanted to talk to the president, not because I was looking for a job. These are some of the things I wanted to discuss with the president. And this is the situation that we are having. I'm sorry I'm talking about this on TV, but we have to talk about them. I need to talk to the president. Because they are important things. These are very important things. He responded to me, acknowledged that he has received my, I noted down all the points, the things I wanted to discuss with the president, and the diaspora was on top of the list. Some of the solutions that can bring the diaspora together and have meaningful investment in Zambia. So 1 week before I traveled, so when I reached Zambia expecting Mr. Machila to come back to me, I told him even 1 hour just to have to talk to my president. Up to now, Mr. Machila has never, Bradford Machila has never responded. I wrote to him yesterday, and said, Mr. Machila, even a courtesy of saying Mr. Chilufya, the president was busy. I knew when I was coming in, the president was in Nairobi, and I was in Nairobi. But most of the time, the president was in Zambia, not even 1 hour. Very important things. And then what did I do? Mr. Machila doesn't want me to speak to the president. Let me write to Mr. Kakubo. Mr. Kakubo sent me to the permanent secretary. I write a formal letter. Imagine writing a formal letter, why I want to see, and then nobody responds. Only yesterday, Mr. Mbula responded to me, telling me just blank that the minister is not available. Then I wrote back and said, not even an alternative date, nothing. So how do you expect me as a diasporan to come and have a big investment in Zambia when my own ministers and people I put in power are treating me like that? And I hope somebody in the office of the president is listening to this. The Zambian diaspora is fragmented, and the Zambian diaspora is ready to invest in Zambia. But what are the incentives? What are the laws? Do we have a diaspora policy? Has it been put in action? Has it been implemented? We don't know all that. We don't know even how many Zambians are in the diaspora, how many Zambian diaspora groups. So what should we do, Mr. Kelvin?
I think we, following with the sentiments that you have actually put on the table, we need to realign some of this, more so looking at the policy guideline for diaspora. We need to look at a way we can create symbiotic sort of relationship between our home country and wherever we are. Obviously, we are on advantageous side when you are in diaspora. You basically able to meet, even key economic players of certain countries where you are residing, and you can bring back home such kind of investment, and even much more now. You've got an aspect of skills that you are learning differently from Zambian skills. So many of these composition could actually help to help the country move forward. But obviously, yes, there's a need for us to do a lot of advocacy. If it's in that case, we need to look at a best way we can come up with an idea of putting this in a package of a proposal and see how best this can actually be championed. But obviously, looking at what we are able to see also is that I think there's a need to create a lot of energy policies around diaspora so that we're able to actually drive the much needed investment from people like you. And obviously, yes, I know that the zeal for you people to invest in Zambia is quite high. But again, also, we can identify people that can actually help you, to set up an investment vehicle that you people in diaspora are able to help out.
Yeah, no. Kelvin, I won't stop. I want Mr. If Mr. Kakuwa is listening, I want Mr. Kakuwa to come on here and answer to some of the questions the diasporas are asking. It's not me. If it doesn't come, Mr. Mbula should come. The permanent, because these are the only people who can answer these questions. And as long as we are not united, we fragmented, we won't do anything. I can tell you a lot of Zambian diasporans are doing things in Zambia. I'm one of them. I don't want to go into details. But I know we can do bigger things. Zambia has the potential. But in all these countries, the government is the enabler.
That's very true.
We need money from the government. We want the government to guide us. Laws. There was a law, diaspora law under Arabi. After Arabi died, left government, everything died. So how are your investments going to be protected if there is no law guiding, protecting your investment? And then as the diaspora, Kelvin, I can tell you, if you've got a good rating, well lived in the UK, I can work. It takes 24 to 48 hours to get your money. I can borrow 50,000 today.
That's any more reason why I'm crying for you people to come.
It will take 24 to 48 hours to get your money into your bank account. You don't have to walk into the bank you on the computer. And that's the opportunity Zambia is missing today. I'll give an example. If there it's projected that they say there are 250,000 Zambians in the diaspora. If that is correct, if there was an incentive for an investment in Zambia, big investment, okay, investing in Mopani, $300 million. 200,000 Zambians, if they put $100 each, which is nothing, is $20 million. So you tell me Zambian diasporas can fail to invest in a big project in Zambia?
No.
Thank you so much. Have you got any? We've got a few minutes to close. Have you got any closing remarks, Kelvin?
Well, I'm just emphasizing to you people in diaspora. You see, we have been crying out to have foreign direct investors. We need you to be the diaspora direct investors in this nation. I think it's at a time when Zambia now requires typical Zambians to actually invest in their own country. And that way are going to reduce capital flight. Look at what has been happening over time when it comes to Forex market. For me, that's the biggest cry that I have, where every time when a bigger player of a foreign-based investor want to get money out of the nation, it's just stabilizes a lot of things. And even what we have done also to ourselves in terms of mining, the mining tax regime, or even just the revenue side of it, it has not been done very well. We sell copper in the law form, and it goes recorded, maybe it's a 1 billion or 2 billion per month in terms of output. But that 2 billion or 1 billion does not come back and eat into the treasury. You know what comes out of there? It's just a tax receipt and some operation cost. So there is already a serious imbalance. If we depend so much on the foreign direct investors, we will not develop this nation. Of course, we need a combination of them and few other things that could actually put in place. But the diaspora people, I think, for me, what I've seen that is an opportunity for you. You just need to come and see how we can invest, create an investment vehicle. Look for trusted and honest people that can work and drive this from this end. I think you have opportunity and the potential to make good economic dividends.
Thank you so much, Kelvin, for coming in. You know what CNN said at one point? It said diaspora is like, that quote in the Bible where it says a prophet is not recognized in his own city. And then he went on to say, that reporter went on to say, It's like that special card somebody has hidden in his sleeve. And when he puts that card on the table, it will change everything. That's what they call the diaspora. So the diaspora is so powerful, instrumental, that it can do a lot of things. It can change a lot of things. It can help in the economic development, and it can help to create jobs in Zambia. But
just one more thing, Mr. Chilufya. I'm sure there are people that are in Canada who are listening. If you look at avocado in Canada, it's a very small thing. It will cost you $2, $3, even at some point $5. But when you get a bigger avocado here, I'm sure I can make all that is diaspora's network that can also be created, where some of the stuff can actually be pushed here, others can actually be pushed there. So it can be an exchange of some sort. I think there's just need to model a structure in which actually everyone should be able to benefit, and they should be honest people within this channel of distribution or work.
You fantastic, Kelvin. I told you that it's a two-way traffic. The diaspora, Zambian diaspora will be investing in Zambia. But like Nigeria and Ghana, they bring their products here. Yam, fufu, fish. You find the milonge in London. They come from Nigeria. So even in Zambia, now imagine, because they won't allow you to export a raw chicken, but all dry things, you can bring them here. Chihuahua, dry chihuahua, imbalala, inch beans. Now imagine a cargo plane coming from Lusaka, bringing Zambian products, which they will be buying from Zambian farmers. Now imagine how much soya, just soya. Soya is massive industry here. We have soya milk here, but we don't have soya milk in Zambia. We've got soya milk here. Most of the people, I don't drink normal milk, I drink soya. A lot of people are drinking soya because it's healthy. Imagine how much soya can come from Zambia to here.
And one funny thing, that soya in Zambia, we're only using for almost like two purposes. In fact, three purposes. We're just using for making cooking oil, animal feed, and also just human feeds, soya chunks and all these other things, That's what we are using. You're not even thinking of soya milk. And if anything, there is so much appetite also in the region. Right now, as we speak, Tanzania is looking at about 8,000 metric tons of soya that they need to feed. And there we only actually upscaled reproduction to about 4,000 somewhere metric tons. Previously, we used to have about 2,000. So now this is when soya is actually coming so strongly. Right now, as I speak, if you take soya beans at Zambia, just within 24 hours, they're able to pay you. Even if
now, Kelvin, the UK market is huge because soya is treated as one of the healthy products, and it's expensive. And I was talking to a friend of mine who works for one of the companies that they make nyama soya. Then I told him, I need soya milk. He says, what are you talking about? He says, but I drink soya milk in the UK. You know what I mean? So honey, Zambian honey, is so much on demand here. You go into Harrods, it's 25 pounds, 250 mils. So all those opportunities, Zambia just needs to be organized. And we need data also, because if I went to Ministry of Agriculture and asked them how much tonnage of honey is produced in Zambia, because I want to go to investors, they won't even know how much chickens are produced by Zambians, how much chickens does what do they call ShopRite sells, or how many chickens are sold per month in the whole country. Those are the data that we need. And
I think now you're giving me a direction in which I need to do research over that. I think I'll venture into that research. I'll give you next time when you give an opportunity.
Yeah. So, Kelvin, once again, Mr. Chisanga, thank you so much for coming to this program. We'll need you in future with other other issues. This is your home. You're welcome. Mwelwa, thank you so much. We had technical issues, but you came in and helped our viewers. Thank you so much. I hope you've been giving those stars. And thank you so much for your viewership. May the Lord bless our... Before I say that, I'm certain, Kelvin, Zambia is going to prosper. But we need to work hard. Zambians, we need to maintain the culture. We need to support the government, and the government also needs to work with
us. Right now, in Sansa, you can even sit on the brazier. Yes. The way things are happening. So there's a need for us to just drive this positivity which is in the country. You know, we can drive it and we can make things out of this actually.
No, the environment is excellent. I was in Zambia 3 weeks ago. Yes. The environment is excellent. We're excited, but then we want continuity. We don't want a situation after 10 years of HH, then we go back. Like what happened in Manawasa era. After Manawasa is gone, everything is gone. We want, that's why we need policies and laws.
Yes.
You know, strong policies, strong laws, so that they continue even after the president is gone. Things continue.
Yes.
Thank you so much once again, our viewers. Thank you so much. Good night. God bless you. Thank you. Over to you, Mwelwa. Or maybe Mwelwa, you wanted to say something. Okay, anything you wanted to say? Closing remarks before you close. You are mute, Mwelwa.
Not in particular. I was just going to take Mr. Kelvin Chisanga a little back to his first answer and ask him whether he was not too presumptuous when he says that we are on the verge or we are on the precipice of an economic boom, because well, some of the typical, and I call them textbooks because sometimes they're not really applicable, but they are still applicable, where you have your stable inflations, your interest rates are rising, wage growth, you have a good strong employment numbers, high retail sales, and we don't have these. And I think we've spent most of the program saying this is what should happen, this is what should happen. So if it hasn't yet happened, and we are definitely still in the red, we still owe. So how are you very sure? Are you not too presumptuous when you say we are on the verge? That was the only question I think that I had.
Well, looking at what is happening, as I mentioned, there are a lot of complementary aspects which are also in the economy. Obviously, so many things that we could actually see. Those issues to do with the inflation, the way it's trending, forex, and all these other things, they are basically signifying the best thing that to actually be able to come. By the way, I mentioned to say the microeconomic indicators suggest to say that there is a positivity that is created in the economic atmosphere. Obviously, those microeconomic factors will now start corresponding with macro economic indicators as well. At some point, they will be responding. So basically, we are trying to look at a way where if you look at the central government, look at the central bank and all these other complementary elements in the economy, I think they are lying in tandem with what we can actually see a good projection in terms of economic growth pattern. And obviously, when you look at even the influx of stakeholders like World Bank, IMF, and a few others who are also coming, even just by the way, look at the way there is this positivity also coming from the private sector. By the way, you have heard of Zambia also being financed, heard of other companies also pronouncing investment patterns that they are trying to take. So all these put together, it shows to say that there is a projection that is going to happen in terms of increase of employment, and also even just productivity also will be less up. So a lot of other scales of measure can also be put in place as well. But the basis here is that we are able to see a very good environment being created. Obviously, the government has been consistent, much more on the policies that they are speaking. And even when it comes to the international PLR, I think they have done extremely very well. And that is where now we talk of you people looking at opportunities in Zambia as diaspora direct investors, and even FDDIs also should be able to come, because government is creating an atmosphere where there is an equal balance in terms of participation in the economic structure. There is nothing like or something, but obviously, when you look at the multi-economic zone also that are being talked about, they are also creating a lot of good sentimental aspect as well of growth in terms of agriculture, in terms of manufacturing, in terms of even just value addition altogether. So there is just this positivity discussion, a narrative that is talking of value addition. And once we create that value addition perspective in Zambia, I think we are now creating jobs. We are not going to export soya beans in its raw form. We need to vary hard and then export it. We're going to export maize grain in its own form. It has to be turned into maize flour or mini meal. When you export it, I think that's what we are, and that's job in a way. So we have got so much of what we're talking, and the political positivity or sentiment that are also coming from the office bearers, like ministers in charge of certain line ministries. They are also talking strongly in those directions, and much more even when you look at the value addition that is being also undertaken on mining side. I think also it's going to create jobs as well, where we are talking of now having collaboration with the Congo DRC in terms of making batteries, for electrical vehicles. I think that's a very good plan put in place as well. So all these put together, they are showing a proper direction. In as far as we might not be able to see the numbers of employment reducing now, we are able to see, like in the few time to come anytime soon, we will be able to see about 11,000 nurses to be employed, which is also an aggregate factor on an employment level. And now it's even good that we have a record with the teachers that were supposed to be employed. There were about 100,000 people that applied. I'm sure there must be teachers required somewhere. We can use that data to start exporting some of the teachers. So that's what we need to look at. So those are opportunities that we need to untap and unlock. So there's a need for us to bring ideas together and see how we can properly bring this synergy in place so that we can champion development and growth from there as well.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. I think that's answered my question.
Thank you so much, Kelvin. Thank you so much, Mwelwa.
Thank you.
Our viewers, good night. Bye for now. Kelvin, don't go, please. We'll talk a bit in the background. Over to you, Mwelwa.
Thank you, and good night.
Thank you.